Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back to episode 27 of the News Just News Weekly Roundup. I'm Adam Pika, I'm your host today, and as always, or well, mostly always, I am joined by the fabulous Lucia. Hello, welcome back.
Hello. Hello, thank you.
And welcome back, Anna. I've missed you guys for a week. Oh,
No, it's been so sad.
Yeah.
but that means we do have plenty to talk about today. As always, you guys, you can find everything we're talking about and so much more on the newsjustnews.com website. Go there, check it out, see more stories on everything films, TV, gaming, politics, economics, everything. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, the big thing for quite a while now, I've been seeing so many stories on this. People, celebrities talking, actors talking, but the Cannes Film Festival has been on. Lucia, you know all about this, I am sure. I am excited to hear. Tell us everything.
Yes, so the Cannes Film Festival ended last week. So on Saturday, they finally announced all the winners for this year's edition. The winner for the main prize, so the top prize of the festival, which is obviously the Palme d'Or, was Cristian Minju, who's a Romanian director. He won for a movie called Fjord. And this news has been received quite in a mixed way, I would say. I've read some critics being very enthusiastic about the movie, and others just not being as favorable. It is quite a tough choice. There were a lot of good movies apparently this year. Obviously, I'm very curious to see many of them. Like I was saying, the movie is called Fjord, and it's the English debut for this director, who is Romanian. And the previous time he won the Palme d'Or was in 2007 for another movie that was in Romanian. And this time we've got two main big actors in this movie. We've got Sebastian Stan, who's obviously of Romanian origins, and Renate Reinsve, who is, this Norwegian actress who became really famous in the last few years. Especially last year, she was in massively successful movie, which was obviously Sentimental Value. The two of them play a couple in the movie, and they are part of a Romanian evangelical family. So they are very religious, they are very strict, and they move from Romania to Norway to basically relocate into her hometown. But let's just say the story takes a turn when they find their children to have, signs of physical abuse on their bodies. So it is a movie that has quite a lot of heavy themes. We've got religion, obviously, we've got repression, but we also have child abuse, and that's why I think it was quite controversial with the win. The second most important prize was the Grand Prix, and that was won by a Russian movie called Minotaur, which is basically set on the backdrop of the Ukraine war, and it follows a man coming to terms with the fact that his wife might be cheating on him. And that was also quite successful. And the third prize, the third most important one, which was the jury prize, was awarded to a Bulgarian film, called The Dreamed Adventure. So we can see that, it covers quite a few countries this year as well. And then this year has also been quite important for the LGBTQ plus community, I would say. There were quite a few movies featuring, queer stories and queer characters, which was really nice to see. There were a lot of tied wins. So the Best Director prize, the Best Actress prize, and the Best Actor prize were all won by two people at once, which I think was quite interesting, and it made maybe this edition quite generous. The LGBT movies that were most successful were La Bola Negra and Coward. The first one is a Spanish movie, which translates to The Black Ball, and it's basically based on one of the unfinished works by Spanish poet Francisco. What's the name? Lorca, basically. Federico Garcia Lorca, there we go. And basically, it follows like the lives of three different men in three different times. And the two directors won the best director. They're called in Spain Los Javis, because both of them are called Javier Calvo and Javier Ambrosi. And then Coward was the other movie that was also quite successful during the edition, and that was basically a movie set during the First World War, and it follows two guys falling in love, and it's a Belgian movie, and it basically made the two main actors, winners in the Best Actor category. So it was a very interesting edition, and I think there's a lot of movies that I want to see. Especially, I think La Bola Negra is really interesting. I've seen some clips in it, and there's Penelope Cruz in this amazing like blonde wig, and she looks incredible. And I think it would be really fun. So yeah, I'm really excited to see most of the movies from this edition.
Yeah, that's so cool. They all sound very different and very interesting. I mean, what sort of struck me, especially with especially the queer ones, I think they're both like queer war stories, which I thought was something a bit different to seeing them. But I don't know. I was going to ask. I mean, it's maybe a little bit heavy for the first question, but with especially the top prize going to the Norwegian story, and it's got like child abuse, and it tackles a lot of heavy questions. What do you think about films that tackle, I guess, what do you think about film awards rewarding films for their subject matter rather than for the actual cinematography or the acting itself? Do you think that's sort of an issue that's coming up in a lot of we've seen the Oscars and stuff? Do you think that's a recurring issue, and do you think that might have happened here?
That's such an interesting question. I mean, yeah, I'm very pleased about the win. Mainly, and again, maybe that's my own bias, because I like that it covers topics that are very prevalent and need to be spoken about. But at the same time, I haven't watched it, and I haven't watched its competitors as well, so I don't know in terms of the quality and anything like that. But I do think, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, we've seen it in Oscars, we've seen it in general, and I guess we're in a time at the moment where, I mean, at least I think we're in a time where these kind of topics maybe are prioritized a bit more over maybe the actual cinematography and quality, which isn't necessarily fair. But I also understand it and get the point. So I guess it's a double-edged sword. There's two sides to it. But it's a very interesting topic to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Lucia, what do you think? Do you think there's quite a bit more of like, I don't know, a political element to Cannes, or has this year, I don't know, are there any surprises this year, or has it
I would say that the movies that ended up winning were among the ones that were most loved. So, for example, La Bola Negra received a 20-minute standing ovation, which is quite a long time, and it was one of the main ones that were eyed to win the top prize. So the fact that it won for best director is still quite, a good feat. As for the main prize, obviously, when you got controversial themes, I feel like it's gonna end up being controversial, even like the conversation after it. So that's why I think like some critics were okay with that win, and some others were not particularly like approving of it. But I guess it's like it's those themes that every now and then like it's important to talk about it and to give it visibility, especially because if I'm not mistaken, I think the director said that it was based on like loosely based on real events. So if it's done right, it's a good way to give a voice to the people who were part of the story.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, I guess to another controversial topic is, I mean, how many times have we spoken about this? AI. It's on everybody's lips. It's on every headline. Um, uh, Spotify have they've announced a new partnership with you making use of AI. Tell us about that, Anna.
Yeah, so Spotify announced, I guess, a collaboration with Universal Music Group, and they are wanting to kind of create an AI tool for premium users. And essentially, it'll be an add-on that you can try on first. You can try it out and see how it goes, and then if you enjoy it, you can pay for it. And there's so much to talk about with this because some people like it, some don't, some feel not sure yet. And essentially, what the tool does is it allows users, and this is not just artists; these are like users that listen to music, to create remixes of songs or create alternate versions of songs. So, for example, um, like a really clubby song, you can make a slower version, or maybe like a sad Legend song, you can make it into a dancing kind of like club version as well. So it's those kind of things. I think it also you can work with like different vocals. So one artist you can change it to a sound of what another artist would sing it. But it's very important to note that this is only for artists who want to participate in it. So we'll see what happens there with which artists are actually going to opt into this and which won't. I think there will be quite a lot of controversy surrounding that. But the whole idea around it is that we've been seeing on YouTube and TikTok, there are so many AI music beat like covers, and Suno is one of those AI music things that you can create. Basically, just put in lyrics. You say, "I want a jazz song," and then there you go, it creates it for you. And I think this is Spotify's way of kind of trying to reclaim that a bit and have a little bit more legal authority over it as well and control. And so the feature will allow the artists whose songs are remixed and everything, they will get paid royalties. So that will allow them to make music with the songs that are already being kind of manipulated illegally with AI. And then obviously it'll be legally shared. And yeah, so essentially it controls how AI music is being used. I think like the person behind it, I forget his name now, but he essentially said that there is no way of getting out of AI music at the moment. There's no way of stopping it. So the only way that we can go forward with it is to work with it and kind of control it in our own parameters. So yeah, it's kind of introducing the superfan feature kind of vibe. They've also like introduced a lot of different things. We know Spotify is a very interactive music app. I mean, you get Spotify Wrapped. They recently had like your top listened songs, and the first song you listened to, I don't know if you guys saw that. And the logo changed into disco ball, which I love, but they changed it back. No, anyways. But yeah, other like super fan features that they're introducing is something called Tickets Reserved, which is essentially for artists and fans. So fans who are like they have lots of listening history with the fans, they can get 2 reserved tickets for an artist show, which a lot of people don't like, because that also brings in other issues. Some people, like with Spotify Rap, for example, some people will literally play a song overnight while they're sleeping to get it on their Spotify Rap, and now that's gonna get you 2 reserved tickets. It's not really a fair system, in my opinion. Others love it, but hey. Yeah, and then they want to introduce more interactive things, and I guess that includes the AI aspect. So kind of changing the narrative from users listening to music to now participating in it as well, which is quite a bold step. But yeah, a lot of people are worried that it kind of gets rid of the whole, point of music, the artistry, and letting the artists tell those stories. But now, because of AI and everything, it's kind of changed into, okay, let's get the listeners involved and collaborate, because there's no way of stopping this. And yeah, it's a whole, and in my opinion, what most people are saying, it's a revenue generation think, for Spotify and artists. That's that's the whole idea of it. And yeah, I don't know what you guys think about it, but yeah, I definitely have mixed opinions.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the about the ticketing thing, and I think Spotify is so on it when it comes to using their data. I think they use it in such cool ways, to be honest. But yeah, the other AI thing, Lucia, I saw you reluctantly nodding and grimacing at some of those. So do you think it's positive for artists? Do you think they're sort of reclaiming their music from, from illegal AI use, or do you think actually this is just sort of encouraging it?
I think it's a bit of a thin line because obviously it's not the first time, anyone has ever created a remix of a song. So, like Hannah was saying, for example, like a dance version of a slower song or things like that. It's always been there, and even like with samples, we have artists like sampling other artists' song like for ages, and I think that's fine. That's it's always been like that. But at the same time, like having, for example, the idea of a song that you wrote and sang and then published, have that song, which is, you know, I think important for an artist, have it in a way where it's like that same song but sung from a completely different person. Like it would be, if I was a singer, it would be like very, I don't know, strange, and also I would feel like it's kind of like taking away my effort for that song. Obviously, like Anna was saying, the artists have to decide whether they are okay with that, but it's kind of like if they decide, then it's kind of this idea of having everything stripped from a song that you created, and like your whole catalog is potentially, being used in ways that maybe you wouldn't want to. And I feel like once then you've given your, you know, once you've approved that choice, then you can't really go back. And also once the process has started, then it's just gonna be like that. So I think remixes are fine, but at the same time, yeah, like changing the voice would be something quite heavy. And I'm hoping that they know what they're doing when they say, that they're okay with it.
Yeah, definitely signing away. And I hope, the tools that are given out there, hopefully there are, maybe there's going to be restrictions on it. Like you can't make Sabrina Carpenter sing slurs or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Hopefully there's actually, more safeguards than there would usually be. Anna, I was going to ask, so obviously it's an opt-in to this AI thing. If, let's say, if Taylor Swift opted in, what, would you see her in a different light? What would you think about her?
As a hardcore Swiftie, I don't think Taylor Swift would opt into this. But hey, maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't know. I think Taylor is, first of all, so protective of her music and her discography, and I don't think she would want that happening. Although we have talked about it before, she's filed many copyright actions and stuff against AI used against her. So that's why I think she wouldn't. But I mean, I feel especially for Gen Z and younger music listeners, we're becoming very anti-AI, and I think we're coming to the point where we want real, authentic music. So I don't think this is going to be well received by many artists and listeners. And I think like if Taylor were to do it, I think I would get backlash. So I mean, it's kind of like you don't really know what's right or what's wrong at this point. We're just gonna have to see what artists do it and what artists don't, and if it works. I'm very interested to see the process, but I do agree with the whole aspect of it's happening and this is the only way that they can kind of control it. But I also wonder, maybe will this make Spotify users change to Apple Music, for example? I guess in defiance of it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if there will be a sort of controversy around which artists sign off and which
Yeah.
artists don't sign up, and what that will lead to. But for everyone watching, if you can, I'm sure you can follow this story. There'll probably be this person signed up and all that sort of gossip, and you can see so many articles on AI and how it is changing our world on newsjustnews.com. And yeah, there's a lot of criticisms, and people are talking about how the world is, it's making the world hotter and there's droughts, and we certainly felt that in the UK. So going on to the UK heat wave, it's still just about here. Luckily today isn't actually that hot. I don't know about where you are, Lucia, but it's not too bad today. But yes, the UK has just had its hottest ever day the hottest ever day in May for 2 days in a row. Like, the one record smashed after another. It's been crazy. So on the 25th of May, it hit 35.1 degrees Celsius in Kew Gardens in London. I mean, you might laugh, Anna, at how low that temperature may be to you. But yes, that came just one day after it hit 34.8 degrees. For context, the last record was just 32.8 degrees, and that was set in 1944. So that's the time jump, and just how much it has exploded, this record. And so obviously this has got a lot of, this has got really ignited a discussion, because we don't really have AC in the UK. It's just not a thing. Maybe like some big posh malls have it, and shopping centers, and like, I don't know, posh offices, I'm sure. But majority of places, less than 5% of UK homes have AC, and because of like new climate change rules for houses, it's a lot harder to put AC in homes. So like our Conservative Party, someone Claire Coutinho's like the shadow energy secretary, she said the Conservatives would axe that role. They bring in AC units for houses, for new built houses, but then also like on the other side of the political spectrum. So the Climate Change Committee, this was last week, so before even the heat wave, they released their proposals for how to adapt to climate change and the heat waves and the droughts and the floods. And one thing that they said was the UK needs the air conditioning in schools and hospitals, just because it's just going to be too much otherwise. But then the thing about AC is there's a feedback loop of especially in cities, it's called the urban heat island effect. And when people turn on the AC, obviously it pushes out all the hot air, so then cities get hotter. And obviously AC uses a lot of energy, so and obviously that, if you're using fossil fuels, that hurts the climate as well. So it's one of those things of how do we fight climate change, but then also how do we adapt to it as well, because it's happening now. I was going to say, Anna, I don't actually know. So I'm guessing it's super prevalent in South Africa. Is AC everywhere? Do you have it in your house? Like,
actually, no, not really. I think AC is having air conditioning is actually quite like a fancy thing to have here. I don't know if my fellow South Africans would disagree or agree with me with that. We mostly just use fans here. I remember, like in school, we just had fans because, again, it's extremely expensive. What we've been doing a lot here is using solar power to, I guess, use that to get AC. But yeah, I mean, even in South Africa, like those type of temperatures, that's hot. That's very hot. And I remember, like at school, if it hit 40 degrees, then we were allowed to go home, type of thing. So, but we have those measures in place. But I think the UK maybe doesn't know how to deal with this yet, and kind of put those measures in place. So that's something I think needs to be put together and thought about. It's very interesting though.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the UK is built for the cold. Our houses built to retain heat. there's also unions, so like workers' unions were saying we have a minimum temperature in the UK, but we don't have a maximum temperature. Like, I mean, I don't know if it would quite hit 40 degrees, not yet in the UK, but people will just stay in school, they would just stay in work, just no matter how hot it would get. We just don't have any sort of policy in place for heat waves. Lucia, so I guess coming over to the UK, how has it been for you? Like, are you, because obviously everyone in the UK has been online complaining and being like, it's so hot, heat wave. And then when you're not in the UK, I think it's so easy to be like, oh, that's so, it's only 32 degrees. But how have you coped, Lucia? Or
I mean, as an Italian, I have to say, I'm not, foreign to high temperatures. I think the max I've ever seen in Italy was like 43, 44 degrees, because there are some, months during the year when it gets really, really warm. But being over here now, it's different. It's just, when you're on Twitter and you complain about the heat and everyone comes at you and they're like, oh, in Spain, we got 50 degrees. Yeah, I know, it is true. But in the UK, it just feels different. It's like, it just feels very humid most of the time. And like you were saying, the buildings are, especially if you're inside the house, the buildings are built to keep the heat in because it gets really cold. So when it's really warm, it's a nightmare. That's how it feels. Yes, no, it's been fine. Obviously, with the experience that I've got from being Italian, I'm trying to like be well with the heat, but it has been a little bit daunting, yeah, because it does get really warm and you can feel it a lot. Yeah.
Is there anything that you think us Brits should take from Italy to deal with the heat? Or we just gotta...
I think you just gotta endure it. There's not much you can do. Obviously, yeah, the AC, but like you said, it's got all of that in the background. And even in Italy, I wouldn't say it's that much common. It's more something that, certain houses will install it. Certain families will install it into their houses, but it's not that common, really. Just the usual thing that the doctors say, like keep hydrated, drink a lot of water, stay inside when it's really warm, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay. And hopefully everyone who is watching this in the UK and obviously across Europe, I know it's been very hot across Europe. I hope everyone is staying safe because it is a serious thing, the heat. Like, I think there's already like 6 deaths, which is so sad. So please stay safe, everyone. Thank you both for being here today. It's been lovely. And yes, go to newsjustnews.com and I will see everyone next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.